The Dan Yore State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome into my State of Mind. This broadcast originally on Thursday evening. It is great to have you aboard. Big news this week in Providence with the turnaround plan, at least in concept, offered by the Education Commissioner, Angelica Infante Green, and the new superintendent, Harrison Peters. A lot of concepts, not a lot of specifics, but that was by their design. Lofty goals, how to get there, still a work in progress. Always will be, right? And an incumbent part of that process are the teachers, of course. And it's time to check in with the Providence Teachers Union president, Maribeth Calabro, who is an educator as well as the union leader, and get her thoughts on that. So with no further ado, let us begin. So we welcome Maribeth Calabro in here to my State of Mind. She's the teacher union, but she's also an educator, and she understands what it's been like to be on the ground. Maribeth, I trust you fared well this whole year. Well, that's probably an interesting. Let me not suppose you fared. Fared, I guess, is the proper question.
We've fared. We've our teachers across the state have been really amazing. Particularly in Providence, we did a lot in terms of the distance learning, and it was not an easy task. We literally went from brick and mortar to online learning with a 5-day turnaround and not a lot of training. A lot of teachers had to teach themselves over the course of the 5 days. And, there was a lot of phone calls late at night to each other and a lot of online learning that we had to do, professional development, et cetera. But we did it. And the beginning was not pretty. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't, roll out the red carpet. They've nailed it. But, we found our stride, if you will, and we did it. And we did it because of the kids. The hiccups that we had, or the fits and starts that we had, were mostly to do with access and equity, and trying to get all of our students online, and trying to get all of our students the bandwidth that they needed, or trying to get them to stay online for the entire day. Those are things that are very difficult to do for a whole host of reasons, whether it be the dynamics of their home because their parents had to work and they had to babysit, or they had to work. There's a lot of considerations. People, think, oh, distance learning, everybody's sitting at home in their, in their sweatpants and on computers, and it's easy. This was harder than anything I've had to do in my 26 years of teaching, and it's been harder for our parents and for our kids. There needs to be a lot of consideration given to our parents who really, had to do the work of teachers, had to support, had to sit with their children, had to learn this on their own. And so, excuse me a minute. The magic of Zoom, I'm sorry, and had to support their kids, and some having more than one child at different levels, juggling that act of, I have a first grader, a third grader, and a sixth grader, and everybody's online, but we can't all be online because of bandwidth. So a lot of stuff happened in houses across the state and across our city that folks just aren't aware of. And I think that a lot of credit needs to be given to our kids and our parents and our teachers for getting it done.
What a great comprehensive answer that was. One of the things by the way, I've talked to teachers on a personal basis. To a person, they say it was the hardest stretches no matter what. And that seems to be a common. I said to the commissioner last week, it was interesting that the governor and the put out this charge that you continue to go in try to move the ball forward and not just be satisfied. Interesting, the Commonwealth decided that they want to put, they just wanted to fund up. They were good with just literally being where they were, not mandating, curriculum achievement, on respect through the school year. Local districts kind of had their own road. So interesting that Rhode Island has created a perception that it wanted to just keep moving the ball forward and keep teaching the kids and not get in the virus. Do you feel like you accomplished that?
I do. I think that, were there missteps? Absolutely. Was there a lot of learning that had to be done? Yes. Was there some learning loss? Probably. But if you saw the expectations and the rigor that our teachers put forth, they still had standards-based instruction. They still had expectations and objectives. They still had assessments. This wasn't fluff that we gave for the remainder of the year. It wasn't like putting up games and things like that. This was instruction. And even for those who were not able to have access, or even for those students who were differently abled and the multi-language learners, we were able to provide supports by either providing hard copies and talking on the phone with families and our students and talking them through that learning. So we, again, it was not perfect and there were flaws, but I don't know anything that is.
It's interesting. You deal with special children.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's been fascinating. Some kids just were, it was like kryptonite to Superman. They just did not want to do this. But importantly, we found that there are certain types of students that really acclimated to this. And part of the Providence turnaround plan is incorporate that in. Did you notice that the virus was a good bad break for some students?
I think in some instances it was. I think that there are some students who just fare better with support on the periphery and engaging with, with Google Classroom and just being asked and told what to do and then asking for support if they need it.
Fascinating. When we come back, we'll talk with the president of the Teachers Union about the presentation by the new superintendent and still new commissioners on the Providence school system. It's compelling stuff. There's always a clinic that has, and we need to hear it. Shall we? Go back. Dan Yore, Maribeth Calabro is the president of the Providence Teachers Union, and I'll say this again, I've said it many times. She has established for the union a good foothold when it comes to being interactive, even having good arguments and point of view. I think a leadership aspect of Maribeth across the table. One of the things, Maribeth, I spoke in our last segment of the presentation was kind of that other type of thing. Coronavirus. If I'm not missing the coronavirus through everybody, at least for life. Is that true?
I didn't catch what you said. I'm sorry.
I said it feels like the virus is the same problem.
Yeah, I absolutely think that. I think that it gave us all something to focus on from the same lens, right? So no one thought about, oh, this is my wheelhouse, that's your wheelhouse. On that Friday, when we were told we weren't coming back to school, our sole focus was, what do we do now, and how do we get everything we need to get to our children, and then how do we get them instructed for a period of time. And so that's what we did, and I think we did it well.
Did you find, on the radio side, I would have some calls, never from Providence, but anybody calling about a teacher kind of laying down on the job in Providence. I just heard a lot about it in school. You've always been kind of actualized the role. Did you find that some teachers really excel? Teachers just kind of said, I'm mailing this thing.
I think that we'll always have teachers that excel, and I think that again it's based on levels of preparedness and readiness, right? So we had people who had already used Google Classroom, who had used Zoom before with their kids, who had done these things, so they were more advanced. Someone like myself, who is not, a teacher of record per se, I was less adept at Google Classroom, but I had used Google, so I did it a little bit more readily than others. As far as laying down on the job, I don't think, and if they did, they were called on it. I will tell you that.
So you feel like everybody threw in the effort, right? So let's transition here. It feels a year ago, but I mean, it's a year ago, but it feels like 10 years ago that the Providence Hopkins report came out. The virus has reset our history in a lot of ways. When we get back to a better place, whatever, there's serious issues in Providence we have to address. Physical plant is one of them, and with the conversation yesterday from the new superintendent and commissioner, they were not focused on that part of it yet.
No.
About how that got with you.
I understand that COVID and the pandemic has thrown everything a monkey wrench, and I understand that, obviously, but given this extra time and space that they've had in schools, I would have hoped that some jobs would have been done with that bond money. That being said, I also realize that now we have a $900 million deficit in the state, and I'm not so sure that that bond money is going to remain the bond money for physical plant.
I guess I wasn't so thinking that they would seize the moment, throw on masks, and start rehabbing buildings, but they seem like they've got a physical plant. This new building, K8, coming up in South Providence. Looks like it's Joe Paolino's transaction, which will be interesting. Other than that, the general gist of this whole thing is establishing some high goal performance that is in the top tier of the state, and 25% here in the light. Who can argue with that, right? I mean,
you can't argue that,
right?
Mm-mm.
You have a role in helping with that goal setting?
Did I? No, but can we have a role in getting to that goal? Yes, I believe that we can, collaboratively can, yes.
You heard the number, we want to perform in the top 25% for 5 years. Did you gap? You say, of course.
I think that based on what we know about test scores and what we know about what's happened across the country, and given that it's taken Massachusetts 26 years to get where they are, I think that my initial thought was, that's ambitious, really ambitious, given where we are, and given that we're starting a brand new ELA program and a brand new math program. But I understand the loftiness, and I understand the need and the desire to push forward and above to be the best. Absolutely, because we can't afford not to. So I get it, but I also think that, again, it's ambitious given the fact that this is technically year one, and starting in September, we're going to be clean slate with a brand new English language art program from K to 12 and a new math program K to 12, and Massachusetts is sitting on 20 6 years, like I said, of program implementation.
The announcement was broad in scope and didn't have a lot of specifics, but there were the concepts of the discussion. And when we come back, we'll talk with Maribeth about those, how the collective bargaining help learn or right back on the Dan Yore stage. Back in, I'm Maribeth Calabro, is the president of the Providence Teachers Union. All right, Alison Peters, the superintendent of the Telecommunications Commissioner yesterday, in stating the new goals, put some high targets. Look, there are 34% of the kids in Providence are multilingual. They want to really increase the number of teachers the same. Can you get that done?
Sure, they can do that now.
They can do that now. Tell me.
There's nothing nothing in our contract that precludes them from hiring people of color, multilingual people. There's nothing in our contract that precludes them from doing that.
But I'm sure there's some programmatic doing practices that need collaboration in order to achieve the goal.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, and we want to be collaborative. We've said that from the beginning. We've said that since the John Hopkins report dropped, that we want to be part of the solution.
The commissioner says how we get more diversity into the teaching in Providence.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The commissioner asked you how to get more diversity. What would your answer be?
Well, we have a few things that we can do to bring more diversity into the ranks. One is to support the Grow Your Own program that we have at Mount Pleasant High School that we're working with Rhode Island College. So we have a strand of CTE at Mount Pleasant High School, the education strand that works with Rhode Island College and URI. And now we're looking to increase that program. We are also working with the 1033, local 1033, to allow and help teacher assistants become teachers. We have had conversations with URI, or I've had conversations with URI at the professor there, that we should have some of their pre-service folks substituting in our district, and so they could have their courses in the afternoon and have them sub in Providence for credits or for hours, so that they can see what it's like. We also need to have a pathway for those substitutes, once they finish their credentials, to come back to Providence and get hired.
One of the things that is in discussion yesterday was that they want to have more flexibility to rid the system of low-performing teachers. Seems to be an interesting conversation. Perspective on that is what?
Well, Title 16 allows any district to remove a teacher for just cause. Low performance is just cause. All they have to do is their due diligence, as I've said to you before, to have a teacher removed.
So it always amuses me is that the conversation on the administrative side always seems to be more complicated than your response to that. It's kind of like, yeah, I got a bad teacher, there's no problem. Okay, just go through the process. I think it's the process that and again, I don't have a hands-on clinical understanding of this process, so
No, and I understand that. I just so I guess my questions are what is low performance? How is that defined? What is it defined by? Is it defined simply by the evaluation process? Is it defined by test scores? Is it defined by both? So I guess those would be the questions that I would have to ask the superintendent and the commissioner as to what they would mean by low performance.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And when we get closer to the school year, I think we can start talking over more. But let's not leave it on low concepts. I mean, everybody's got a clunker or two. I think what's important is to actually emphasize excellence and great performance. Right. I think that too has got to be. And I only have a minute here. You got to rest up a little bit for the summer. The union president does. But you gold. By the way, when is your contract up?
August 31st. We're negotiating weekly. We started negotiating a couple of weeks ago, practicing social distancing and all that good stuff with our masks on, which is not fun. The social distancing and the mask part is not fun. I have difficulty breathing. Most of us do. But we meet twice a week, and we are moving forward in a positive direction. So our hope is to have a successor agreement before school begins.
Well, if that's the tone, that's good news for everyone. I just don't think, with all the complications of this school year with COVID, acrimony is.
No, it doesn't make sense. And we have a lot of great stuff on the table for collaborative success for our students and parent engagement and things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to come to an agreement and move forward.
All right, listen, thank you for your excessive use. Try to enjoy the summer.
Thanks, you too.
We'll be back. Maribeth Calabro, President.
Have a great day.
Collaboration is going to be a really important part of all education success, and at least it seems like the mindset from the Teachers Union president is that's what we're going to do to get this job done. That's a good thing for the city of Providence. Thanks for tuning in. We'll check back in tomorrow night with some new programs and some repeat programs as we continue to move through this virus season. Thanks for Zooming with me. Good night.
The Dan Yore State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.